Hi everyone, Nick Craddock, host of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. So to start off with, we're going to need 10-inch by 10-yard white deco mesh. And today we're using iridescent, which has the little foil stripes inside. We're going to use a 10 to 15-inch work form, and we're going to need one piece for every twist. So these are already pre-made, these work forms. You don't have to make them yourselves. So they do kind of vary within each frame. So just go ahead and count each one and cut one piece of white mesh about 18-inch for each twist. So we're going to just stretch out our mesh. Use our rotary cutter, and you're going to need a self-healing mat. If you don't have a self-healing mat, you will dull the blade incredibly fast. This blade we've been working with for about 3 years now, and it's still cutting our mesh really easily. So now that we've prepped all of our pieces of this white mesh, we're going to start by creating a ruffle, and this is known as the ruffle technique, but all we're doing is just pinching it in the middle and gathering towards us until we have kind of like a little bow tie. And we're going to take it and place one in each twist. And this is going to create our base. So we are going to come back in with additional mesh on top of this, in red and in blue. We're creating an Americana themed wreath today, which is perfect to leave up year round, to show your love for this country. So we're going to just take another piece. And also, we did make sure to have all of our twist ties rather open at this point. It makes it so much easier and faster working in your mesh when all of the twist ties are open. And also, do notice that we have white tinsel ties or twist ties, because we don't want to be able to see those in the end. If you are making your own dollar store pipe cleaner wreath, which we've done here on Hometalk for years now, you can absolutely be doing that. Just make sure you're using either white, red, or blue pipe cleaners. That way they don't stand out, and that way you can easily trim them without them being kind of visible throughout. Okay, and here's what our base looks like so far. So now let's work in even more mesh. So now we have this beautiful red and white striped mesh. And always keep in mind that if you see something like this, don't think of just one holiday. This would work easily for Christmas. This is actually left over from Christmas time. And the red and white works great for 4th of July. This would also work for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. Just think outside the box whenever you see, certain products. So now we're going to cut one piece for every other twist, which means we need 6 of these. And these are going to be our accent piece of mesh. They're not going to really take away too much from our design. And we're also going to do a different technique with these. We're not going to do a ruffle. We're going to add these in as a curl. So all we're going to do is just roll them up like they're paper towel tubes. So as you can see, the rest right here are just stacked. So for this technique, honestly, the best mesh to use is the mesh that you have left over from other projects. If you don't have any, it's totally fine. You could use a fresh roll of mesh. But when you start getting halfway through the roll of mesh, since it's been wrapped around that paper towel tube in the middle of it, it really has a nice hold and kind of stays exactly where you want. So, as you can see, we're not going to have to do much work in regards to, making these into these tubes. So we're just going to alternate between every other twist and work in one piece. That's going to add a nice little pop of color without overdoing it by working in too much. So now it's time for ribbons. So I cut 5 pieces of this beautiful blue velvet and this beautiful red and white polka dot, 14 inches long, and dovetailed the ends. I'm going to show you guys one as an example. So whatever ribbons you would like, you absolutely can use. For this design, I did choose 2 simpler ribbons. That way they don't take away too much from our mesh and our sign. So I just used one as an example to cut the next piece. We already cut the rest 14 inches long. We'll cut an example of the red. And then all we have to do is just take the ribbon without the dovetails, fold them in half, one on top of another, fold in half again, and then cut from the middle out towards the wired edge at an angle. And what that does in the end is create a beautiful dovetail. So we'll start with one color at a time, and we're going to place the blue right on top of the red. So we're going to open up the twist, place the blue on top of the red so that there's a nice contrast. And then at this point in time, if you wanted to make life easier, you can just take your tails and place them towards the outside. So the same direction that the mesh is facing should be the direction your ribbons face as well. So it makes it easy when you already have kind of a base to know exactly where to place things, so you don't have to kind of skip count like we did with the mesh. It's already done for you. You just have to kind of follow that pattern. So anytime there's mesh, or the red mesh, we're going to work in the blue. And wherever the white mesh is with the white twist ties, we'll place the red and white polka dot. So now all of our blue ribbons in place. Now we'll come back in with the red and white polka dot. So just find those twists that don't have any additional mesh on the surface and work in a piece in every one of those. And also, it doesn't matter where you start or where you finish as long as every twist gets a piece. Okay, so our base is complete at this point. Still needs a little bit of fluffing, but now we can secure our sign and then do any final touches after that. So for an Americana wreath, I figured this flag sign would be very appropriate. So what I've done is I've taken a pipe cleaner, added some cold glue underneath, let it sit, came back in with some hot glue on the surface just to make sure it's extra secure. You're not going to want to just use hot glue on a metal sign. It won't last, and if it lasts, it'll only last for a little bit. So keep that in mind. Then I'm just going to take a pipe cleaner and secure it on the hanger on the top. And then what we can do is we can come back into our design and just secure it to the frame. So any kind of heavy product, you always want to secure directly to the frame and not the mesh, because another issue with that is that the mesh will sag over time if you have any weight on it. So make sure you're securing to the metal backing that, comes on the original wreath frame. So just feed those pipe cleaners through. So now we'll secure it from above. So now we can begin, fluffing all of those ribbons, adjusting our mesh. And at this point in time, we can start thinking if we want to work in greenery and flowers or if we don't. So I've always been a huge fan of actually working in flowers and greenery into my mesh wreaths. I think it kind of adds a taste of, class to it and adds a little bit of elegance as well. So I've always been a fan of that. But if you just want to keep it as a mesh wreath, you absolutely can. But just make sure that you spend those extra few minutes and fluff everything out. So before we even consider adding any flowers, I'm just going to break down some of this. This is a dill bush, and it's actually one of my favorite types of greenery. So if you follow me on Nick's Seasonal Decor, you'll see us use this constantly. The reason I love it so much is that it's such a small leaf and such a finer texture. And, it doesn't add any bulk to your designs. It just kind of softens everything. So we're going to just take these. We're going to dip them in our glue skillet. And here's our new glue skillet. We kind of debuted this 2 weeks ago on Hometalk. And I love it, and it's my favorite tool in my shop, hands down, because it does a great job of adding glue to things that I need, glue on. I don't use glue guns. I much rather work with my skillet, because look at how easy this is, you guys. You just take the end, dip it inside, give it a quick swirl, and then you have, a stem full of greenery. So we're just going to kind of poke these in between all of the ribbons or so, just to add a little bit of kind of a natural product to it. So now just spend an extra minute or two fluffing it out. Like I said, the best time to do that is when it's actually against your door or against your wall. And now we're going to show you guys the finished product. Okay, and here's how our Americana wreath turned out. So although this isn't a rustic design, I think by working in the greenery, it added a little bit more of a natural look to it. So let's do a quick little recap. We have a 6x12 metal flag sign, and we secured it in 2 different points, above and below. We worked in a base of white mesh, and then we came back in with some leftover Christmas mesh. So for those of you that have any Christmas products that are, red, white, or blue, you can absolutely work them in, including ornaments. So we just worked in a different texture there, and then we came back in with 6 of each ribbons, and then just a little bit of greenery to finish it off. So a very inexpensive design, and it's also not overly large. So if you wanted to display this, in the interior of your home, you absolutely can. And this, of course, would make a statement on any front door as well. So thank you all so much for watching. This is Nick Kretikos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. Bye, everyone.